you have any side effects?
What am I gonna do? Models are getting smaller again. How am I gonna stay with work and in my industry?
She's about to find out what that really takes. Because in fashion, it's not just about fitting the clothes. It's about being cast or cast out.
I get quite nervous before a casting. Often they ask me to try on the t-shirt and a pair of jeans. Sometimes, to my horror, the jeans don't fit. Often I find myself in a bit of a panic, sweating, terror. It's not a nice feeling. I take them off, I put my own back on. I dab the brow, I get rid of the sweat. I walk out of the fitting room and present Isabella Moore.
Since the moment we became aware of our bodies, we've been told that they need to be thin. They need to be small as possible, the smaller the better.
The first messages I internalized by my body were that I need to not be fat.
Yeah, we were just used to just seeing celebrities that were bigger on the cover of like gossip magazines being teared apart.
I think it's a pretty hard thing to stand tall in a world that looks at you and often thinks that's the worst thing that they could become is fat.
Yeah, the way I used to talk to myself before, ooh, it was so bad. Yeah.
I didn't think that I was worthy. I didn't think I deserved to be in the room, and I always doubted myself, so self-conscious.
The moment that I became aware of my body as something that was perceived, I knew that it wasn't right. I knew that I was bigger than my peers, and I knew that that wasn't a good thing. Comparison is hardwired in us as humans, but it's such a dangerous game, comparison, and it's such a trap.
I hate castings. I hate them so much because in New Zealand, I never did a casting, I only did fittings. And so castings were like a new thing for me in London. The thing with castings is that models, some of them are just flawless, and you look at them and you're like, there's no way I'm gonna get picked against this girl.
Just the process of a casting is, especially for lots of the younger girls and new faces, it's quite daunting. And it can be kind of conveyor belt of people, of humans.
It's a very cutthroat and it's not for everyone. There's a lot of tears, there's a lot of drama. They usually have about 10 to 15 different castings a day, being a curve girl and walking into a room with all these size 6, 8, girls. Sometimes it's not the most comfortable place to be in.
It is vulnerable, like it is a vulnerable position to be in. You feel like you're looked at a bit differently, and maybe being cast differently.
I do think people in the industry sat behind that table really have a responsibility to consider the mental welfare of every model that they receive.
I got scouted when I was 13. The agency that scouted me is a very top agency. They took my measurements. I had mild acne, so they said, okay, we need to sort out the acne, and if possible, if you can lose some weight as well.
I was really poorly with glandular fever when I was about 16. And I'd spent months in and out of hospital, fainting, covered in bruises, exhausted, and I'd lost a lot of weight. When I went back to my agency, they told me that it was the best I'd ever looked.
At the time, I took very drastic measures to be that skinny.
I needed to run 4 miles every day, and then I would sometimes go for days of not eating. I had like a third of the hair that I have now on my head. I lost my period for quite a while, and I was constantly sick. After 2 years, my body just wouldn't do it anymore, and I started gaining weight, and that's when my American agency started dropping me.
Particularly when you're a young woman growing up, I think it's very hard to separate you as a person and you as the product. Because in this industry, the two are very intertwined.
These weren't just stories, they were unwritten rules. But not everyone stayed silent. People demanded change.
Before I was chief executive, I was a communications advisor for the British Fashion Council. And we went through a period where there was a model health inquiry that really looked at sort of the health and the pressure put on models to try and achieve maybe unachievable body types. And that was really the start of discussion around body image and the way that the fashion industry, by using more inclusive body types, whether that's in the shows, in advertising, can create change.
Generally speaking, from where the industry is from when it was 10 years ago, I think there's a huge movement and a big change.
We were heading in a good direction. There was this big fight for it and this big push forward, and now all of a sudden, it's kind of petered off.
This industry has always gone through the ups and downs of having visibility, plus-size representation.
I think it was just quite cool to do it for a bit. People were ticking a box and they didn't actually take on what that's about.
Like, they don't know what to do with plus-size girls. Because it was a trend, they don't know how to market them.
I think it's just a shame because we've come so far. It would be so sad to go backwards again.
What we do today as models, or the way that we take up space in this industry, it does so much more than what we can fathom.
For Isabella, this is personal. She wants a space in the frame, but will she fit?
When you get the casting for Fashion Week, you get an email, you get excited because you're like, yes, this is my chance to be walking in London Fashion Week. Then you go to the casting, you do your best, and then you wait. And you wait.